So welcome back to the garden. Today is August 21st and the weather is perfect outside today. We got a little bit of sun, a little bit of wind, 72 degrees. I don't think it could really be much better than this. And so that's why I'm out here in the garden. I want to give you an update and talk a little bit about what's new since the last time we saw the garden. And right behind me here, we've got the zinnias are really starting to shine here. And this year, what I tried to do is plant one of each color that I had. So I had 4 different colors. Had a scarlet, had an orange, had a yellow, had a red. And I tried to plant them here so that we would have sort of a more aesthetically pleasing area if you were hanging out over here by the trough. The funny thing is, the trough is looking a little bit dirty. It's got to be cleaned up. So less hanging out by the trough right now, but that's fine. The flowers are looking really good. And I also had planted some cosmos over here. You can see this tiny little bee working in there. And I planted some cosmos right here. Ooh, it looks, we got a moth maybe. Not sure exactly what that is. But this was supposed to be a little bit nicer than what it was previously. Previously, it looked a lot like this. Got your kale right here, and then the kale would kind of die off, and when kale dies off, it kind of smells bad. And so I decided this year I would cut back the kale, scale it back. So I went from having, say, 10 kind of mature kale plants here to down to 4. And even those 4 are probably still too much. I do like the kale, but it gets attacked by caterpillars quite a bit. It gets a little bit dirty. You can see some of these leaves down here a little bit dirty. But it just keeps growing, and it keeps doing its job, so I kind of left it there. With that said, I might clean it up a little bit. We'll see. This area back here is looking really nice. We've got a couple of kiwi vines growing up each side of this trellis, and I haven't had any problems with the kiwis growing. They just kind of grow, and maybe a little bit too much, and so I may have to cut them back over on the other side of the trellis where they're just getting out of hand. And I may come back here too. We'll kind of see. One thing I don't want to happen is the kiwi to wrap around my banana right here, and don't want it to kind of suffocate out the banana, but it doesn't seem like it's doing that. There was a time where I thought it was going to. But you can see right here, it's coming out towards the light. So I'll keep an eye over on this area. We'll kind of keep that cleaned up, and I think it'll be okay, at least for this year. And over here we got another banana over on the corner. Now you might be thinking that, you know, what zone are you in? And I'm in zone 6B, and I should be able to keep these bananas alive even though they're in the ground. If when things start to get cold around here, I'm going to go ahead and try to cover the base. I think you're supposed to cut it back all the way down here and cover it, and so that's what I'm going to try to do this year. Over here it's looking pretty good, I have to say. It's maybe seems a little messy at first glance, and then it is, but overall it's really not that bad. If you look in the back here, we've got some of our blackberries that you know, I should come over here with a small basket real quick, because you can see how many are actually ripe. And I've been having some trouble with the birds lately. You know, they like to munch on the blackberries, and then I've got some chipmunks, and yeah, I think it's mostly those two have been coming in here and just stealing them from me. So I don't mind it all that much, but now that I can see them, I should come back here. Over on the right, I've got my pink hardy hibiscus, and that thing has done really well. Planted this a couple years ago, and if you want a kind of tropical looking flower, this is a good choice because it survived some temperatures down to -10. It was -10, I think, for something like over 24 hours, and it came back and it's doing great. So hardy hibiscus right there, and then I didn't plant that tree right there, and that thing's getting eaten alive. And then over there I did plant that one. That's actually a cherry tree. I think it might be a Lapins or a Lapins cherry. I'm not sure how to say that. You can correct me in the comments if you want. But that one's finally doing well, and I say finally because I've transplanted that thing, I want to say 3 times now, because I just keep doing projects in the area where it's in. And that could happen again this year, next year. I may end up building a greenhouse over in this kind of zone right here. That's why it's relatively cleaned up. Didn't get to it this year, and still looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it, just haven't had the time to get to that. But you can see down here, this cherry has a pretty solid base, and let's take a look. This one, yeah, it's the Lappin's cherry. And so let's say overall pretty healthy cherry. Now if we're walking back, you can see I've got this monster tomato, and this grew out of compost that was here. So this is definitely a compost tomato or volunteer tomato, and it's just got some massive growth down here where I'm not even sure where this thing starts, but I think it's been rooting and just continuously rooting into the ground. So it might start somewhere around here, but it goes underneath this piece of wood or something. Healthiest tomato I have for sure. Now I haven't done anything to try to manage it. I'm just kind of seeing what happens here, but I might have to cut a few of those branches back so I can walk around here. With that said, I can't complain about free tomatoes because, well, the chipmunks are taking most of mine, and you know, they've been getting the free tomatoes. So let's walk back. Put another banana right here in a container. And this is an area I haven't talked about too much. Some of my plants that you know, when I buy these, and I bought these ones maybe in December on the right here, I sometimes just let them sit in pots and kind of see how they do before I decide where to put them, just to kind of observe them. I've got enough going on where I'm more than happy to sometimes just leave things sitting around for a bit. But these are cranberries, and so these cranberries have done really well, especially considering I have done absolutely nothing but maybe give them a little bit of water here and there. You can see they actually have some cranberries growing on them right there. So I was really surprised that these have done as well as they have. And you can see these vines are just like, they're just looking, you know, they're just looking for a place to go. And I'm not sure if they, the vines will then try to root once they reach the ground, but you can see they're going. So it would be pretty cool to have cranberries kind of hanging from an area and just have kind of like these weeping cranberry vines, I guess. The thing that I'm really excited about this year is over here is my corn. And this is the first year that I started corn early enough to kind of get some corns growing here. And you can see this is a nice healthy one right here, and another nice one down there. So I was thinking for this video, let's just go ahead and harvest one. And again, this one looks really good, so I'm just going to go ahead and peel this off if I can while filming. So that feels pretty good. It's a nice corn that we've got right here. And let's see if we can kind of adjust the camera here. See if we can go ahead and take a look at this corn. See what's happening with the corn. Take a look at that. So that is amazing. That's it looks delicious. And one thing about corn, freshly grown and harvested corn, is you don't have to grill this, you don't have to cook it. You can just go ahead and eat it. And I think that's what I'm gonna do here. So there's a really good piece of corn. So, you might be wondering, how is it? Delicious. The thing about freshly harvested corn like this, it's a little bit more sweet. It's got a little bit of juice. Every kind of kernel that you bite into's got a little bit of juice to it, and it really is just delicious. And there's absolutely no reason to have to cook this thing or grill this thing. It is just so fresh, and it's tender enough that you can just bite into it. So I could finish this right now, but I'm actually going to go ahead and bring it up here and
put it out on my patio for a minute, and hopefully the chipmunk doesn't get to it before I finish the film here. Right next to that, I'll point this out. I've had a lot of problems with rodents, and so I tried this, and my verdict is, don't get this. Doesn't work. It's supposed to be a rodent repellent, and it says it's 4% peppermint oil, which kind of seems low to me. And if you look at the ingredients, water, glycerin, polyglycerol, oleate, and soap. And it doesn't even really list peppermint oil in there, so maybe the polyglycerol, I don't know. Either way, not a lot of peppermint oil in there, and it didn't stop the rodents, because I've had chipmunks, which I've watched with my own eyes, come in here, and they'll go ahead and they'll just climb up the vines, and they'll pick their tomato, and then they will run out of the garden with it. So that's been something that was a little unexpected for me for this year. I've had chipmunk problems in the past, and I thought that tying these up would kind of help with that, but so far it has not. And I did try that spray as a way to try to save some tomatoes and stop the chipmunks from getting to them. But I think the only thing that's really going to work for me at this point in the season is just coming here and you know, harvesting them before the chipmunks do. And so, you know, if I look at my tomatoes, this one right here, I have to say, it's just an awesome. This is the apple yellow, and if you just take a look at how nice these are, they do have a little bit of that apple shape to them, and just a really healthy performing tomato for this year. So really happy about how these tomatoes have been doing. But if you want to get to your tomatoes before the chipmunks, my suggestion is to pick them before they're ripe. So this one right here, I can see it's got a little bit more color compared to like this one right here. And I'm going to just go ahead and pop it right off. And that didn't take a lot of effort to pop it off. And usually that means, you know, they're ready to harvest if they come off without a lot of force. And over here I see another one that's got a little bit of color to it too. I'm just going to go ahead and pick that one. And that seems to be effective for me, to just go ahead and collect a whole bunch at once, put them in a basket, bring them inside, and after a couple of days they'll just ripen up. So you can, you know, put them by the window, put them on your counter, and you'll have some ripe tomatoes after a few days. So it's not that kind of instantly ripe kind of process, but it's been working pretty well for me. So for me, for this year, the summary on the tomatoes is that they've been growing okay. I'll give them like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. At least the ones I intentionally planted. And the harvest has been a little bit worse, maybe a 4 out of 10 because of the chipmunks. So I still have some time to salvage that for this year. Got to get out here a little bit more frequently, collect tomatoes more often, but it's still been fun to grow them, and I've had some good ones that I've picked. And as I walk back here, you'll see that my Monster Cosmo right here is just it's just doing really well, and so it's done so well that I think it might be too much for this area. This thing is like, that's 8 feet tall, so this is getting pretty close to 7 feet tall. And you know what's interesting is for how big the stem is of this Cosmo right down here, there's not as many blooms on this thing as you would expect. We are going to see a whole bunch right here, a whole bunch right here, a whole bunch right there, but they've taken a little bit longer than the ones that I planted by hand. This one, just look at how nice these flowers look. These are the cupcake variety, and you know, those look like the they look like the cupcake wrapper, so to speak. And I planted that one this year by starting it indoors and transplanting it outside. And in my opinion, this is maybe more desirable because it's not taking a lot of space, and we've got some good flowers going. With that said, maybe there'll be some hidden benefits to to having these this big. But this garden is like 25% Cosmos now, which a lot of people probably wouldn't have a problem with that. Over here, you can see that my fig is doing exactly what I want it to do. It is becoming a very tall fig, and I like the look of the fig. It's got some big leaves here. This one's even bigger, and it's also growing some fruits. I want to say we got one, yeah, right down here. We got another one growing right here, a couple others, and so that'll be nice if I can harvest a couple figs this year. And you know, the way I look at it is, you know, it's just if you get those fruits, if you get, you know, stuff from your garden, it's a delicacy, and it's stuff that you might otherwise not be able to get as fresh or as you know, specific variety of a particular plant. And so the garden allows you to grow anything that you know, that you really want within reason. And so over here we've got our peppers, and we got some Jalafuegos right here doing okay, but you can see this is getting a little bit of shade, and those are hot peppers, and so I think they probably want a little more sun. And so as you look down here, just kind of see that the peppers over there all are doing really well. They're probably like a foot taller than everyone that's here, except for this one. So my guess is that the shade has something to do with this, because I think, you know, there's no reason, in my opinion, why these ones shouldn't be a little bit bigger. But with that said, we come over here to our Goddess banana pepper, and this looks like a banana. I mean, just look at how big this banana pepper is. So I'm pretty excited to pick that. That might be a fun one to collect seeds on, because I do tend to take the ones that, you know, look the best. And so if I'm collecting seed on it, I might wait until that thing ripens a little bit more. But over here we have a nice cluster of poblanos, and these poblanos are looking pretty good. This one is a little bit more tall and thin, and then we have a little bit more of the wider one over here. And it's the same variety. They're just kind of shaping up to be a little bit different there. And what else we got? Over here we've got some nice, these are probably, yep, some lunchbox peppers, and so they're kind of like smaller bell peppers, and sometimes I think these have a little bit of heat, but it's not too much. And right here we got some yellowing, so these will be some nice yellow lunchbox peppers. And over here we'll see what we get. But I think I've mostly mixed them when I grow them, so it's just kind of luck of the draw of what the seed's going to be. And as we look down here, this is one of my favorite peppers, and these are doing really well. These are the what I call the OG bell, and it's because, just take a look, I mean, it's shaped a bit like a bell. So yeah, a lot of peppers are not shaped like a bell anymore in terms of the bell peppers, and I do believe that's where bell pepper got its name. It did look more like a bell with some of the original strains and varieties, but these ones taste so good. I just can't begin to explain how nice these ones taste. And I'm not gonna harvest and eat any of those right now. I'm kind of letting these just continue to grow, and I'm not sure, you know, at this point, if I harvested all of these, if I'm getting a whole nother batch before the freezes come here, but we'll see. Speaking of freezes, we got down to 52 degrees last night, and that's just above the point where, you know, I'm comfortable with that temperature in the garden for August. But if we got below 50, I'd be a little bit concerned here. And down here we got a couple another nice peppers. These are the YOLO Red, and I'm really happy to put these little stakes out here this year. It didn't take that long, and they've really paid off, because I would really forget what this is. I would probably start to say, well, was this a poblano? Back here we got another YOLO Red, but I think I might have harvested one of the bigger ones recently. So more bell peppers, and then kind of a sad sight right here. These are the cucumbers that I didn't end up seeing, so I do wish I had seen these sooner. But I noticed these maybe a day or two ago, and with this, there's really not much more to do than to pull it off and bring it on over to your compost bin. So for me, I've got a temporary one here, and as you can see, it's been a little bit since I've weeded, so that thing's emptied. So yeah, it would have been great to have seen that sooner, but you know, you can't get too hard on yourself out in the garden when you got so much else growing. It's really not that big of a deal. And we got a nice volunteer tomato right here. Let's look at some of these tomatoes on this. So I should really probably come over here and stake this one. I could even just tie it up to the trellis. That's probably the easiest route for me. Over here, this is our honeydew melon, and I think this is probably my only honeydew melon, and also maybe my best one. But yeah, this one's doing really well, so I'm probably going to go ahead and just harvest that right after the video here. And then You know, speaking of cucumbers, I do have one nice one that's still left up here growing, and I should probably harvest this one as well, because it's probably about ready, or maybe a couple days past being ready. But so that's kind of the update on the corn, the tomatoes, the peppers, and over here is the lettuces that you know, I've got this problem where I just don't eat lettuce fast enough throughout the year to really keep it from bolting. I think it's always going to bolt, so it kind of is what it is at this point. Although we have our endive here, which is doing really well, and you can see it's nice and fluffy. It's really not too bolted. And then an update on the Salanova. Let's take a look. You can see down here the ones that were under these leaves. Well, they haven't grown a ton. They also really haven't bolted, so these are still good. With that said, again, I don't come out here and eat enough of the lettuce to really worry too much about that. But if you're wondering what this big guy is right here, well, let's take a look. It seems that it's going to be traced back to the cinnamon girl pumpkin, and lo and behold, we've got a cinnamon girl pumpkin right here. This is the first pumpkin that I think that I've grown ever. And this one is a little bit small, but really nice. So we'll probably cut the stem up here pretty soon. And then over here I have a couple more growing off of this plant. You can see there's a nice one right down there. And these leaves can be a little bit prickly. They do have little, kind of like tiny little spikes, and I just did hit one of those, so it was a little bit of a shock. But that's a nice little pumpkin we got down in there. And then we have another one growing on over here, if we can make our way across, not fall into the pumpkin spikes. So down here we've got another nice little pumpkin, and I'm pretty excited that I've got these pumpkins, because you know, gardening is all about growing different types of plants, varieties, and you know, I may or may not even eat the pumpkins, but it's nice to just kind of have them around. So it should make Halloween a little easier. And as we walk backwards and cross on over here, you can kind of see a mix of things. So my eyes, when I'm here, they first go to looking at the zinnias and all of the nice different flowers and colors that I have here. We have the blooming artichoke, nice kind of bluish purple violet flowers. And you know, it's another thing that I haven't been great about eating, is eating the artichokes themselves, but at the same time you're getting some really nice blooms with that. So so that's kind of cool. And then we have another artichoke plant just kind of growing down there. And you know, the weed pressure is not too bad over here. This is probably my least favorite weed. This stuff right here is called Shaggy Soldier. Not a big fan, and tends to really grow a lot around here. But speaking of weeds, this is not a weed, this is cilantro, and this is a nice healthy one right here. So that's pretty cool. Let's just, that smells really good. And what's nice about this is most of my cilantro has already since, you know, died off and gone to seed. But this is kind of like the next batch of cilantro from those seeds. And again, I didn't plant this. I would never think to plant something, oh, in this tiny little crack right underneath my planter, but hey, it found a spot, and it's cool with me. So over here I got some more tomatoes popping up, and I honestly think this might be the first year that my volunteer tomatoes will be doing a better job than the ones that I planted. So that also kind of tells you something. Sometimes the garden just gardens itself, right? And except for those are my cucumbers that, you know, this spot here, Persian cucumber, these were growing okay. You know, I think I ate one or two, and it didn't do as well as I would have liked, and I didn't really get around over here a ton to harvesting those ones, but that's okay. Heading back over here, see if there's anything interesting. I would say, you know, really not. We got a few dead onion flowers right here, and if you trace them back, you can see, you know, where the bulbs are. So let's go ahead and just pull them out. And you know, I think this one's a little bit past the point where I should have already collected it or whatnot, because I can see a few bugs and it's breaking down, but that's fine. I will come around and probably still snip the rest of these seeds off. I've got a big collection of the onion seeds now, And I can also just do a little bit of that, and we'll get a few free onions for next year. So I really don't mind that at all. But if you take a look, you can kind of see each of these have a bunch of onion seeds in them, and free onions. So speaking of free onions, let's see what's going on right here, because this is okay, it's a mix. So we do have a little bit of weeds right down here, and I'm not a big fan of anything that looks like grass ever growing in the garden, because it's and this is the mix I was talking about. So I actually just accidentally pulled this onion out. I was hoping to keep that in there, but if I put it back, nah, I'll just keep. I don't think it's gonna come back like that. Maybe it will. So you can actually see that we've got an onion right there and a new onion right there. So we've got a couple new onions growing in here that I didn't really plant, so to speak. That said, we also have some grasses, and I should come around, weed out these grasses, and let these onions thrive. I think they'll thrive no matter what, but again, not a huge fan of grass in the garden. Now, as I make my way down here, we've got another, this is probably, yeah, it's a goddess banana pepper, and just look at that. That's a really tasty looking banana pepper. And underneath that, we got a couple little acorn squash. So they're called acorn squash, and these ones aren't much bigger than the size of an acorn. Another nice one here that's got a little bit more color on it. Looks really nice. And I'm gonna have to come around and harvest some of these gourds soon, because I don't want anything to you know, to rot, so to speak. Got a few more peppers growing here. This is part of the big yellow collection that I had over here. I think I have like 4 of them, and they've all been doing pretty well. And on my left here, if you haven't seen some of the prior videos, definitely subscribe and check out, because you'll know what these are, okay? Or you would have already known. I am going to tell you in just a second, but please go ahead right now. If you have watched to this point and you're enjoying watching, please tap the like button, because that really does help the channel, and I'm trying to grow the channel and make more videos on the garden, and liking the video always helps. So if you could do that, thank you. Okay, now subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, please tap on subscribe. If you have subscribed, well, I'd be surprised if you subscribe, but please subscribe. Okay, now, did you subscribe? Okay, now I will tell you. So right here, these are actually Queen Anne's lace. And if you don't know what Queen Anne's lace is, it is the flower of a carrot. So yes, this is actually all carrots right here. And you might be thinking, well, these don't look like carrots. And yeah, they kind of don't after a little while. But these are the carrots, and you can see how this is such a nicely like dried pod right here. And inside there, these are all the carrot seeds. You can see a ton of little carrot seeds right there. And they do have these little hairs on them, which I do think will die back. And you can kind of brush them off. But it's really nice. We're gonna have a lot of free carrot seed. We're gonna have millions of free carrot seeds. So if you're looking for ways to cut down on your gardening costs, well, it's probably not going to happen right when you start gardening. There's a bit of a setup cost. But once you get things going and things just keep growing, then, you know, you can kind of garden close to free, I want to say. It's always going to have some cost to it. But so we got a lot of great carrot seed. And the nice thing now is that throughout the year, this was covered, right? This whole area. I can actually see my, my row below. And I came through here and weeded a little bit, but there's going to be a few surprises, I bet, when I walk around and kind of clean up all these carrots. Because I'm going to come around and I'm going to cut the ones that look like this. I'm going to just put them in a box that allows for airflow. So I'm not going to put those in a plastic bag. I'm going to put those in like a cardboard box, and that's going to allow a little bit of air to kind of come in and come out, and that way it doesn't get moldy. So never collect seeds and put them directly into like a plastic bag. You always want to allow some airflow wherever your seeds are. But over here, we've got our sage. This is sage that I planted, I want to say at the beginning of last year, and is really just taken off. So there's a lot of sage in there. It's this nice, right here, this guy. And that smells really good. So as we walk down to the end of this row right here, we can kind of turn here and see that this row right here, so we've got some zucchini still on this. We got a couple of really decent sized zucchini still attached to this main stem, and you can see that the stem has kind of rotted down here. I've had that problem with a few of my plants. I think it's probably some kind of boring insect, not as in like this is boring, but something that's tunneling through the vines. So as this is the first year that I'm really growing zucchini, I'm really just kind of observing, and I'm not really trying to react too hard to what I'm growing and just seeing how things do. So the same thing kind of happened over there. You can see that the zucchini is, well, it's gone. I don't think I did anything to move that. I think it's already broken down into the soil, and probably some garden rabbits came around and finished the leaves off. But over here, you can see that this zucchini is kind of dying off. So what I'll do is I'll come over here, I'll harvest a couple of those, and then I'll just let nature clean up the leaves, because that seems a lot easier, doesn't it? Over here we had a nice pepperoncini, but I'm not seeing too many of those pepperons, so I'm wondering if maybe that suspect rabbit's coming around and munching on them. Back there we got another nice little pepper, and it's probably a hotter pepper because I don't think the rabbit's going to be eating the hot peppers. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they won't be. And then over here you can see one of the nice things now that the carrot leaves have kind of died off and things are starting to really kind of air up over here. Look at the size of that dragonfly. Oh my lord. That is the biggest dragonfly I've ever seen in my life. Wow. That thing was like a spacecraft. And they often come back to the same spot, so we may end up seeing that guy again. And if you're wondering what that pop was, that was actually the onion stalk right there. The onion stalks do tend to maintain this kind of shape, and they got a little bit of sturdiness about them. But right now, I might be able to cut this here, collect that onion. We'll see. Got a little snapdragon that I planted at the end of the row there. This little snapdragon flower right here is still doing okay. It's nice to see those kind of mix throughout. And then what I was about to say before we saw that mega dragonfly is that we've got a potato plant right here. So these are some leaves of a potato plant, and I'll just have to be careful when I'm cleaning up not to pull out like the potatoes. But the potato plant that's coming up as maybe one of the potatoes I planted at the very beginning of the year, maybe just never got enough sun. Could also be like an offshoot potato from that plant that's now turning into a new plant. Also got a volunteer tomato right here, and again, the garden is kind of just gardening for itself. And as I walk down here, you can see more volunteer tomatoes in a couple different places here, and I really haven't had to do much with getting a lot of free tomatoes this year from all the volunteers. In here, it's getting a little bit hectic on the path because all of these carrot flowers have fallen over, and when you walk against them, these little the little spikes on them, they do tend to stick to your clothing. So I'm going to try to avoid getting too much carrot seed on me. But as I walk down the path here, another really cool thing for this year is I planted some celery, and I haven't been good at celery in the past. I'm just pulling out a weed here or two. But you can see right here, this is a nice healthy looking celery, and I planted those with my seeder. So I just came and just pushed the seeder down real fast way back in March, and it's been nice because I've gotten a lot of celery in this row. And here's another one right here. So they're about every 1 to 2 feet, and we got a vine growing through here, and I am really hoping that that particular one is actually a watermelon, because I know there's a watermelon in here somewhere. And if I had to guess, this is it. And if we look back here, you can see, the vine is going there, but I should really come through, weed or clean this thing up before I try to get too close to this watermelon, because I don't want to snap the leaves either. Carrots here. So if you're wondering what this nice green bushy row is, these are all carrots. And the carrots have been really easy for me to plant using the Jang seeder, and I'm still trying to figure out the seeder a little bit. It's really, it's not that difficult, but I've had more success with some things than others. And if you're looking in here, each one of these is a carrot, and so This one looks like a dead carrot. So right here, you know, if we look down, you can actually see we got a pretty decent sized carrot growing at the base. And maybe just for the video here, let's go ahead and see what we got. I'd like to let this grow a little bit more ideally, but I have so many that I'm not too worried about doing a little bit of a, oh, now I'm worried. So we didn't pull correctly and we did not get our carrot out, but you can see that's a nice carrot. So now I must retrieve the carrot. I'm gonna have to come back here with pliers. So this guy is kind of wedged. It's kind of wedged in there. It smells really good as I'm doing this. All right, so I just went and grabbed my shovel here. And what I'm gonna do is just kind of try to loosen around the carrot. And, you know, I'm trying not to break the carrot, but if I do, it's okay. So I think I just loosened it up there. Now let's go ahead and see if it'll come right out. There we go. All right, so it's an okay carrot. It's not the biggest carrot I've grown, but it's still gonna make a nice little treat as part of dinner. And I think I accidentally damaged this one, so I'm just going to pull it because I might as well. Oh, it's got my whole shovel. It's a strong carrot. So here's the other carrot that I just pulled out from right in there. So that one, and let's just, you know what? Let's pull this one because they're all coming out. Not the biggest carrot again, but not bad. Alright, so we just pulled 3 carrots. This first one was the biggest one. Then we get this small orange and small yellow one. And these are really kind of shaped a little bit funny. This one looks like it's going for a run. And the reason why this one is shaped like that is because I did not really give these carrots a ton of space. But that's okay. I'm really just going for volume of carrots here. Refining the process a bit too. You know, maybe there's a thing I could do to kind of make that a little bit nicer. But either way, I'm going to have a whole lot of carrots because I got all of this. And I've got all of it down. I've got maybe 40 feet of carrots. And we're talking many carrots per inch here. So anyways, this is the funny thing. It's like I went over to grab my shovel and a peach was just falling off my little peach tree. So I've got a peach, I've got 3 carrots and an onion. And, you know, just kind of, once you start scaling up production, this kind of happens. You just get days where you've got fruits pretty much just everywhere. Figured I'd just give these guys a quick rinse. Alright, well I just washed the carrots off. Now I'm over here in the sort of front of my garden area, and one of the things that I did back in April of this year was plant 600 trees, and I got about 400 into the ground and maybe 200 are in containers. So I've got all of these trees out here kind of waiting to go into the ground somewhere. These are all native trees to this area, and pretty excited to get planting on these when the time is right. With that said, nice thing about this was I was able to build this little pallet. I can move that with my tractor here, and built this little attachment on the back for forklifts for the back of the tractor, so I could go and just lift either of these and move the location and go around and plant them. But they'll also, I think, be fine to sort of overwinter here as well. So it's a nice little structure, and it's been nice to watch all these bare root trees just kind of grow in place. And some of my favorites over here, the redwoods, these ones always do really well. We got some sycamores in here and a lot of others. I guess I should call out the pawpaw too. A lot of pawpaws doing well. So I will come around and hand water these every little bit, every so often. And some aren't going to make it. You can see there might be some dying Austrian pines down in there. And that was just a matter of, I think, getting them into the right container or the right place at the right time. And So I didn't necessarily, you know, fail, but some of them aren't going to make it, and that's okay. I kind of accept that. This is a blue spruce I just decided to pot and put at the front of the garden. It's a nice little entry piece to the garden here, and believe it or not, that tree only cost me $4, so that's cool. Might have been cheaper actually, to be honest. So somehow I'm back in the corn section of the garden. It's just because I like it so much. I really just enjoy walking around my garden, seeing this massive fig, seeing the kiwi right behind it, seeing all the peppers right here. We've got something I haven't talked about yet, the parsley, some herbs in here. And with this just getting so shaded out, and potential for deer right at the entrance, this is mostly going to be herbs in the future. So we've got some thyme and some oregano growing here, and I think that's a nice spot for herbs, because you walk into the garden, you smell the fresh scent of those herbs. Down here kind of looks, you know, a little bit like the row is wrapping up, and it kind of is. As you walk down here, we've got a potato plant right in here that is not me planting it. It's probably from a year or two, and a potato bug. And since I do not like these bugs, I'm just going to go ahead and toss that over into my water feature and let a goldfish eat that. And so we got a nice little potato right there, and then we've got one that kind of has been dying off, and you can see right here we got some potatoes right up at the soil level here. So, you know, I can go ahead and just harvest this one pretty soon. We got another potato bug right here, and goodbye. That's the nice thing about having a little water feature nearby. There's some hungry fish ready to snack. They're all goldfish, and these are all the onion stalks just kind of in a pile breaking down, because I had so many onions in here. You know, I came and clipped the seeds, and now it's just going to kind of break down in place there, and then maybe make its way over to the compost, but it might not. It might just do its thing right here. So we've got that, and then we've got some more, we'll call them the volunteer potatoes that are growing, and really happy to have those, because it's a little bit of work planting potatoes. It's not a ton of work, but it's a little bit, and when you can get free potatoes, free potatoes, free potatoes. So that's what's going on in here. And once I harvest those, I'll probably turn the row over, so to speak. I'll probably just fully weed it out, and then either put down a cover crop. I haven't really gotten into cover cropping too much yet, but the thought does really interest me of maybe, you know, seeding it with a cover crop that, you know, I actually have a pretty big bag of cover crop, mostly peas, I believe, from Johnny's that I got a couple years ago. Still haven't used, but I did intend to. So that's going to be a good candidate for that. And then as we work our way down here, we're back to the mint. And this mint has kind of taken over this section, but I have found some value in it. A couple things. One, lots of pollinators love it. You can see there's a nice little honeybee right here. He's working his magic on the mint. And then we've got another one up here. And then we've got some, I've seen some of the great black wasp kind of flying around in here. And you know, there's been a lot of pollinators this year. One really nice thing to see this year has just been an uptick in pollinators in the garden area. So I'm happy to be sort of supporting all of the pollinators here. And maybe we'll, you know, we might wrap up the video here. Oh, due to me falling on my face. No, I was gonna say we might wrap up the video here pretty soon. We got a black-eyed Susan flower here that I have to kind of manage these every year, because they can get out of control. But it's got some nice pollinators flying around, so let's kind of step by them and head on over here. We've got a butternut squash that started around here, and you can see, oh no, it started here, it's been growing that way, and it's growing this way out to my water feature. So if you walk over here, this part of the garden, we've got our water feature, and you can see we've got a nice little lily pad right in the center there, a couple of blooms, and that's a nice little plant to have, because you really don't have to do too much. It just kind of grows back every year and just hangs out in the bottom of the pond. We got some of the fishes kind of lurking around there, and usually a lot of frogs around, so today seems less of a froggy day. Yesterday, when it was a foggy day, it was really a froggy day, and saw some frogs, saw a snake come through here, saw a lot of wildlife actually, and Down here, we've got a butternut squash, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and make sure I can harvest that thing before it's too late, you know, before it starts to become one with the soil, so to speak. But it's a nice place for a vining plant, I thought, because, you know, otherwise I get a lot of weeds here, and I do wish that it maybe sprawled out a little bit better. So something about this area wasn't as fertile as I would have, you know, expected, but that's okay. So we'll make our way back over here to the garden and kind of wrap up the tour here. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone who has been watching the video, and thanks to everyone who has subscribed. It's been a really good year for the garden chipmunks. He just ran off. It's been a really good year for the garden, and I really do appreciate everyone who's been watching. I know it takes a little bit of time and effort to click on the like button and the subscribe button and to kind of stay up to date with the garden, but I do really appreciate that. So thank you so much for watching. I think I'm gonna go and grab my harvest tools now and collect some blackberries and maybe harvest some of those other gourds that I've just talked about, because before too long they're gonna be gone. Thanks again for watching, guys. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.